Shabbat Shalom Mishpachah, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Acts, starting at chapter 18. Acts chapter 18, verse 1. 1. After these things, Paulus departed from Athens and came to Corinth. 2. And found a certain Yehudi named Aquilus, born in Pontus, who came from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all Yehudim to depart from Rome. Paulus went to visit them. 3. And because he was of the same profession, he abode with them, and wrought, for by their occupation they were talent makers. 4. And he reasoned in the Qahal every Sabbath, and persuaded the Yehudim and the Greeks. 5. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paulus felt with the word, and testified to the Yehudim that Yahshua was Messiah. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he protested by shaking his clothes, and said to them, Your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From henceforth I will go to the Gentiles. 7. And he departed there, and entered into a certain man's house, named Justus, one that petitioned Elohim, whose house joined hard to the Qahal. 8. And Crispus, the chief rabbi of the Qahal, believed on Yahushua with all his house, and many of the Corinthians, hearing, believed, and were immersed. 9. Then spoke the master to Paulus in the night by a vision, Be not afraid, but speak, and hold not your shalom. 10. For I am with you, and no man shall set on you to hurt you, for I have many people in this city. 11. And he continued there 1 year and 6 months, teaching the word of Elohim among them. 12. And when Gallon was the proconsul of Achaia, the Yehudim attacked Paulus together with one accord, and brought him to the judgment seat. 13. Saying, This fellow persuades men to pay homage to Elohim, contrary to the Torah. 14. And when Paulus was now about to open his mouth, Gallon said to the Yehudim, If it were a matter of wrong, O you Yehudim, I would be justified in accepting your complaint. 15. But if it be a question of words and names, and of your Torah, look to it yourself, for I will be no judge of such matters. 16. And he drove them away from the judgment seat. 17. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief rabbi of the Qahal, beat him before the judgment seat, and Gallon did not pay any attention to these things. 18. And Paulus, after this, stayed there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brothers, and sailed there into Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquilus, having shorn his head in Cenchrea, for he had a Nazarite vow. 19. And he came to Ephesus, and left them there, but he himself entered into the Qahal, and reasoned with the Yehudim. 20. When they desired him to remain longer with them, he consented not to. 21. But said his farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this celebration that comes in Jerusalem, but I will return again to ye, if Elohim will. And he sailed from Ephesus. 22. And when he had landed at Caesarea, and gone up, and saluted the congregation, he went down to Antioch. 23. And after he had spent some time there, he departed, and went over all the country of Galatia, and Phrygia, in order strengthening all the disciples. 24. And a certain Yehudi named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scrolls, came to Ephesus. 25. This man was instructed in the way of Yahushua, and being fervent in the Ruach spirit, he spoke and taught diligently the things of Yahweh, knowing only the immersion of Yahuchanan, John. 26. And he began to speak boldly in the Qohal, whom when Aquilus and Priscilla had heard, they took him to them and expounded to him the way of Elohim more completely. 27. And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brothers wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who, when he had come, helped them much, which had believed through favour. 28. For he mightily convinced the Yehudim, and that publicly, showing by the scrolls that Yahushua was the Messiah. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of Acts chapter 18. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes in Acts chapter 18. So the first footnote we have is in verse 2, and found a certain Yehudi named Aquilus, born in Pontus. So let's have a look at this. So this is northeastern Turkey, okay? So, found a certain Yehudi named Aquilus, born in Pontus. This is northeastern Turkey. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. Who came from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all Yehudim to depart from Rome. So let's have a look at this, depart from Rome. So the deportation of the Jews happened in 44 CE. Okay, so the deportation of the Jews happened in 44 CE. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 3. And because he was of the same profession, so let's have a look at this. So they were making talids, or prayer shawls, which represented to the Yehudim like a tent over their heads, as they dwell with Hashem, the Beneficent One. Okay, so they were making talids, or prayer shawls, which represented to the Yehudim like a tent over their heads, as they dwell with Hashem, the Beneficent One. So let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. He abode with them and wrought, for by their occupation they were talid makers. So let's have a look at this. The custom of the Rabbim usually is to engage in employments that are closely aligned with Torah. So here they were talid and shawl makers. It is likely they also made other items such as the tefillin. The Greek word used here, Strong's G4 635, skenopoios, has the root word skenos, from which commentators confuse this with the tent making, which Hebraically, understanding the Hebrew and the ideas behind it, takes us to the understanding of the Hebrew prayer shawl called a talid, which on your head is like a tent. The word skenos can be found in John 1:14 for the term dwelling. This means the Shekinah, or the Spirit of Yahweh, dwells with man. Okay, so let's have a look at John 1:14 quickly. So John 1:14, and it reads, "And the Word was made flesh, and tabernacled amongst us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Av, full of favour and truth. Okay, so we've got a footnote for tabernacle. So let's have a look at this. So showing us he was born on the festival of Sukkot, which is the 15th of Tishri. The Greek word skinos, translated as dwelt in most Bibles, gives it away, if one has eyes to see, that he was born on the first day of Tabernacles. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 4. And he reasoned in the Kohal every Sabbath and persuaded the Yehudim and the Greeks. So let's have a look at this. So persuading both houses of Israel to believe in the Messiah, to be reconciled. Okay? Persuading both houses of Israel to believe in the Messiah, to be reconciled. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 12. And when Galion was the proconsul of Achaia, so let's have a look at this. So Galion was proconsul of Achaia from 51 to 52 CE. Okay, Galion was proconsul of Achaia from 51 to 52 CE. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 18. And Paulus, after he stayed there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brothers, and sailed there into Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquilus, having shorn his head in Cenchrea, for he had a Nazarite vow. Okay? So, let's have a look at this, for he had a Nazarite vow. So, it's amazing that Paulus was still following a law placed in the Torah of keeping the Nazarite vow, Numbers 6 and 2. Yet, some commentators go to great lengths to argue it was not a Torah vow, while Christians are taught unbiblical doctrines to do away with the Torah. Okay, so let's have a look at Numbers 6 and 2. So Numbers 6 and 2, and it reads, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves to Yahweh. 3. He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar or wine, or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. 4. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine, the etz, the tree, from the kernels even to the husk. 5. All the days of the vow of his separation there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled, in which he separates himself to Yahweh. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. 6. All the days that he separates himself to Yahweh, he shall come at no dead body. 7. He shall not make himself unclean for his father or his mother, for his brother or for his sister when they die, because the consecration of his Elohim is upon his head. 8. All the days of his separation he is holy to Yahweh. 9. And if any man die very suddenly by him, he has defiled the head of his consecration. Then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the 7th day shall he shave it. 10. And on the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, to the Kohen priest, to the door of the tent of the appointed times. 11. And when the Kohen priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and make atonement for him, for that he transgressed by the dead, and shall holy his head that same day. 12. And he shall consecrate to Yahweh the days of his separation, and shall bring a lamb of the first year for a trespass offering. But the days that were before shall be lost, because his separation was defiled. 13. And this is the Torah of a Nazarite. When the days of his separation are fulfilled, he shall be brought to the door of the tent of the appointed times. 14. He shall offer his offering to Yahweh, 1 male lamb of the first year without blemish for a burnt offering, and 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish for a sin offering, and 1 ram without blemish for shalom offerings. 15. And a basket of matzah, unleavened rotis of fine flour mingled with oil, and wafers of matzah, unleavened, anointed with oil, and their grain offering, and their drink offerings. 16. And the Kohen priest shall bring them before Yahweh, and shall offer his sin offering and his burnt offering. 17. And he shall offer the ram for a sacrifice of shalom offerings to Yahweh, with the basket of matzah, unleavened roti. The Kohen priest shall offer also his grain offerings and his drink offerings. 18. And the Nazarite shall shave the head of his separation at the door of the tent of the appointed times, and shall take the hair of the head of his separation, and put it in the fire, which is under the sacrifice of the shalom offerings. 19. And the Kohen priest shall take the cooked shoulder of the ram, and 1 matzah unleavened roti out of the basket, and 1 matzah wafer, and shall put them upon the hands of the Nazarite, after the hair of his separation is shaven. 20. And the Kohen priest shall wave them for a wave offering before Yahweh. This is holy for the Kohen priest, with the wave breast and the contribution shoulder offering. And after that the Nazarite may drink wine. 21. This is the Torah of the Nazarite who has vowed, and of his offerings to Yahweh for his separation, beside that his hand shall get, according to the vow which he vowed. So he must do after the Torah of his separation. 22. And Yahweh spoke to Musa, Moshe, saying, Speak to Aaron and to his sons, saying, This way you shall say the blessing of the children of Israel, saying to them, Yahweh bless you and guard you. 25. Yahweh make his face to shine upon you, and be merciful to you. 26. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you, and give you shalom. 27. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Okay, so there's a couple of footnotes we have here, so let's have a look at some of these footnotes. So the first footnote we have is in verse 3. He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine, or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes. Let's have a look at this. So wine made of grapes, Israel is allowed to drink alcohol. Okay, So wine made of grapes, Israel is allowed to drink alcohol. Okay, let's see if we've got any other footnotes here. So we have one in verse 5. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head, until the days be fulfilled, in which he separates himself to Yahweh. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks. So let's have a look. Let the locks. So we have here, the locks were like African people because these were dark-skinned people. Okay, the locks, meaning the hair, were like African people because these were dark-skinned people. Okay, so we also have a continuation. So the locks of the hair of his head grow. So let's have a look at this, grow. So see Leviticus 19:27. So let's have a look at this quickly. Leviticus 19:27. And it reads, "You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shall you destroy the piled sides of your beard." Okay, so we've got a footnote for corner of your heads. And it reads, "It's like making a circle which was done in the ancient times for the dead." Okay? It's like making a circle which was done in the ancient times for the dead. Okay? So let's go back and have a look and see where the next footnote is, which is in verse 13. "And this is the Torah of the Nazarite." Okay, let's have a look at this. So this vow required an animal sacrifice in the temple, and he did the sacrifice. Even those that claimed Torah is done away with, or done away, were put to the test. Maaseh Shishilin, Acts 18, 21 to 23. Okay. So we have another footnote here, which is in verse 25. "Yahweh make his face to shine upon you." So let's have a look at this quickly. So the idea that the sun shines from the east and sets in the west. So Yahweh's Torah will shine from the east to the west, and his blessings will come from the east to the west. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 21. "But said his farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this celebration." So let's have a look at this, keep this celebration. So Paul has kept the annual feasts, and yet ironically the Christian church relies on Paulus to break Yahweh's set-apart laws, such as the feasts. It's incredible how many people in churches are spiritually blind not to see the feasts that Yahweh called his own in Leviticus 23:2. Okay, let's have a look at Leviticus 23:2. So I will start at verse 1. And it also reads, "The appointed celebration times of Yahweh for all who are Israel and or grafted in." Okay, so that means if you grafted in, you've joined unto us. You've joined unto Israel. Okay, so this is Israel and or grafted in, chapter 23, 1. "And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, Musa, saying," 2. "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, concerning the Moedim, the feasts, appointed times of Yahweh, which they shall proclaim to be holy assemblies, even these are my feasts. 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest. a holy assembly. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. 4. There are the Moedim, or these are the Moedim feasts, appointed times of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which they shall proclaim in their seasons. 5. In the 14th day of the first month at dusk is Yahweh's protection Passover. 6. On the 15th day of the same month is the Karg Ha-Matzah, the appointed celebration time of unleavened roti to Yahweh. 7 days you must eat matzah. 7. In the first day you shall have a holy assembly. You shall do no servile work therein. 8. But you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy assembly. You shall do no servile work therein. 9. And Yahweh spoke to Musa, saying, 10. Speak to the children of Israel to say to them, when you become into the land which I give to you, and shall reap the harvest there, then you shall bring a sheaf of the Bikurim, the first fruit of your harvest, to the Kohen priest. 11. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh, to be accepted for you. On the day after the Sabbath, the Kohen priest shall wave it. 12. And you shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, a he-lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering to Yahweh. 13. And the grain offering there shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire to Yahweh for a sweet savour. And the drink offering there shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. 14. And you shall eat neither lechem, bread, nor parched wheat, nor green ears, until the self-same day that you have brought an offering to your power. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. 15. And you shall count to you from the next day after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the Omer of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. 16. Even to the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new grain offering to Yahweh. 17. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits to Yahweh. 18. And you shall offer with the lechem bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. There shall be a burnt offering to Yahweh with their grain offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savour to Yahweh. 19. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of shalom offerings. 20. And the Kohen priest shall wave them with the lechem bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh with 2 lambs, or with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to Yahweh for the Kohen priest. 21. And you shall proclaim on the self-same day that it may be a holy convocation to you. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. 22. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not completely clean out the corners of your field when you reap, neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest you shall leave them to the poor and to the foreigner. I am Yahweh your power. 23. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, Musa, saying, 24. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of shofarim, trumpets, a mikvah, kodesh. 25. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. 26. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, Musa, saying, 27. Also, on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be Yom Kippurim. It shall be a mikvah kodesh to you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. 28. And you shall do no work in the same day, for it is a Yom Kippurim day of atonements, to make kapora for you before Yahweh your power. 29. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. 30. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. 31. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. 32. It shall be to you a holy Sabbath, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month of even, from even to even, you shall celebrate your Sabbath. 33. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, Musa, saying, 34. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be a Chag, Sukkot, the appointed celebration time of tabernacles, for 7 days to Yahweh. 35. On the 1st day shall be a mikvah kodesh. You shall do no servile work therein. 36. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a mikvah kodesh to you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein. 37. These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be a mikvah kodesh, to offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering and a grain offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon this day, or his day. 38. Beside the Sabbaths of Yahweh, and beside your gifts, and beside your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which you give to Yahweh. 39. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a Chag, appointed celebration time, to Yahweh 7 days. On the 1st day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. 40. And you shall take for yourself on the 1st day the branches of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the branches of fig trees, and willows, and the brook, and you shall rejoice before Yahweh your power 7 days. 41. And you shall keep it a Chag, appointed celebration time to Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. 42. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Yashuli born shall dwell in booths. 43. That your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths, when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt. I am Yahweh your power. And Moshe Musa declared to the children of Israel the feast of Yahweh. Okay, so that's the feast of Yahweh. Numbers 6 and 2. So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 21. But said his farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this celebration. Okay, let's have a look at this. I must by all means keep this celebration. So we have here, Paulus kept the annual feasts, and yet, ironically, the Christian church relies on Paulus to break Yahweh's set-apart laws, such as the feasts. It's incredible how many people in churches are spiritually blind not to see the feast that Yahweh called his own in Leviticus 23:2. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 25. This man was instructed in the way of Yahushua. So let's have a look at this. So the term here is Yahushua and not master. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 26. And he began to speak boldly in the Qahal, whom when Aquilus and Priscilla had heard, they took him to them and expounded to him the way of Elohim. So let's have this, the way of Elohim. So we have here, so many like to use this incident that a woman taught, but forget that her husband was the head teaching him. She was merely following him and helping her husband explain further. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 28. For he mightily convinced the Yadim, and that publicly showing by the scrolls that Yahshua was the Messiah. So we have here using the Torah, prophets, and the Psalms. Okay, so we have here using the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of Acts chapter 18. So I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Jeremy Beaton saying thank you for watching, and Shalom Shalom. Baruch Shem Kivod Malkuto Leolam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.